What camera worked out the best for me on my cruise? Let's get into this, but first, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Scott's Reviews, I'm Scott, and we're about to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras. You don't need that many cameras, but I'm gonna let you know how they all worked out, what worked best, what didn't work out on my cruise, and maybe we'll help you out next time you depart on a boat of some sorts, or maybe just a trip to Disney or wherever in the world, and you want to know how these cameras work out. Let's get to it. All right, so I went on a Disney cruise and brought the following cameras: Sony RX0 Mark II, excuse me, the DJI Action 2, a GoPro Hero 9, the DJI Pocket 2, the Sony A7 IV, and of course, this is number 6, but I'm not really counting it today, the iPhone 13, which is a great camera. I'm gonna go over each one and where I used it, where I liked it the most, where it didn't work out, and kind of go from there. All right, so let's talk about the Action 2. So a couple things I took with me for the Action 2. I took this rig here, got this off Amazon, a little small rig. It's made for the GoPro, but I bought this housing off of Amazon too, not the original one from DJI. It's a third party, worked out fine. I'll put the links down below. But it just fits in this kit here. See that? Just kind of like, focus, fits on here. This worked out good. I went snorkeling and scuba diving and used this to get a good firm grip on it, and yeah, happy with it. I'll use it again. I can put lights on top. I added a light on top when I went scuba diving, and so all right, Action 2. So this was probably my favorite camera for cruising. A couple reasons. Number one, the versatility of mounting is what's key with this camera, right? So when I boarded the cruise boat, I could wear the pendant underneath my shirt. I could pin the camera here, walk around hands-free, film when I want, stop when I want, take it off, take a picture, do some more filming as I walk, and then put it back. That was nice. Also, I used a couple different mounting. So obviously they had the lower magnetic mounts. With the stick, it can get a little bit higher, get some different shots, different angles, down low, that kind of thing. Again, take it off real quick. Put it on a shorty. If you want to do less conspicuous, kind of walk around, put it back in your pocket. That was nice. But the most fun was inside the cabin of the boat. Now the boat is made of mostly what? Metal, right? So the ceiling, the walls, everything like that is metal. So with this guy, I could mount it. Remember, if I do it this way, it's gonna mount with the camera pointing up or down. So if I do it against the wall, it's just pointing down, right? I want it to face forward. So to do that, you just gotta use the magnet that came with it that you use on your pendant right here, stick that against the wall. So I stuck it against the wall, and I'll show some shots here. Stuck it against the ceiling above, got some takedown shots, so you can do the ceiling and then put it on a time lapse as you get ready and you run around all the room. That's a cool shot. Now the doors, for some reason on my boat, were not really metal of some sorts to hook onto, because I want to get the sliding door effect. But everywhere else around the boat, inside the cabin, I could stick it on. And then that would include around the boat too. So if I'm walking around the boat, I want to get a shot of me maybe walking or running on the outside deck where you can do the jogging path. You can kind of stick it to the wall, and it's so small that no one's really going to see it right away, so you can kind of hide it in plain sight with this guy. So versatility wise and the fun factor wise, this was the camera to go to. I would use this to recharge it, put it back in my bag, let it recharge as you're doing something else, and then use the front-facing camera if you want to do a walk and talk around the boat or something like that. You want to see yourself as you talk. That's how I kind of use that. And then you have to remind yourself that this is not waterproof. This needs to go away when you use it in the pool. So use this around the pool, jumped in, but at the bottom of the pool, metal on the sides of the pool, it's stuck to. So got some photo shots of this water level, really cool, that kind of thing. So I was really happy with this camera throughout the cruise. Again, for mounting aspects and versatility aspects. All right, that's the Action 2. Where it does not do good, where it is time to put this camera away, is when we go inside or it gets darker. Now, the stabilization, horizon balancing, all that kind of stuff is great, but it does not like environments that are not lit well. You'll get very jitters on the side, especially lights in a room. They'll start shaking and moving around, and I'll show you some of that, but no. Low light, indoors, put this guy away, he's done for the day. You charge it up, time to go to bed. That is where this DJI Action 2 kind of starts failing at that point, low light. All right, let's move on to another camera, and we'll quickly talk about the GoPro. It could be a GoPro 8, 9, 10, or whatever you have. Good old GoPro, right? This is a 9. I had many problems with this camera on the trip. Constantly freezing and failing. We all know that from previous experiences with the 9, so if you're going to get one of these, don't get the 9, get the 10 or the 7 or maybe even the 8, but definitely stay away from the 9. It does too much for the chip inside and it can't handle it, and it freezes a lot. But it's the one I have, so I'm stuck with it right now. But use this a lot for time lapse. So I had the Joby grip, the big grip. I used that on the side of the boat, clamped it on something, and then set up time lapse. Now I tried the scheduled capture 4 or 5 times overnight, and it all failed every time. What I've learned that you have to be in the same 12 or 20, about 12-hour period, right? You can't flip dates. So basically, you can't set it up at evening time around, let's say 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. for sunset awakening at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't do good once it changes over. So if I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning for some reason and set it up for 5 or 6, 7, it'll work. So I use it more for evening. So before we left for dinner, it wasn't about 5:15, we had early dinner. I would set this up and then capture the sunset. So I did that a few times, and that was fun to play with. So in that aspect, the GoPro was great. Of course, we used it for some snorkeling. I gave it to my kid. She also walked around the pool. I mean, GoPro has a great image, a great look. It's a GoPro look, vibrant, all that kind of stuff, outdoors. I always have positive things to say about the footage of GoPro. So if you're deciding about, should I get a GoPro or an Action 2? They're different animals, but if you're just starting out, I would probably go with the GoPro until you want something a little bit different. Yeah, all right, that's the GoPro. We all know GoPro. It's got its purpose. Pocket, DJI Pocket 2. Now this is the camera I kind of have not been using enough of, and the reason why is it's a little bit older for me, so it's not as a fun and new thing to play with, but it's got really good image, and I forget at times how good it is. So when do I use this particular camera? Indoors and low light is where I use this guy, because that's where it shines over the others, right? Since it's a mechanical gimbal on top, it doesn't use all the computer technology to flatten out, smooth out the footage. It's old school, cameras working, gimbals on top. That's what makes the low light look great, because basically just using the camera itself, and we're not playing around with computer science and all that kind of stuff. So this is where low light, indoors, all the time. I just wish it was a little bit wider. I know I used the wide angle lens on it. It still wasn't that wide, but other than that, that's the main great thing about this camera, is I used it all indoors and low lighting stuff. So walking to dinner, that kind of thing, when you kind of want to walk through your tables to get that shot, this can come out. I used this when I boarded the boat. I got better shots with this. I had the Action 2 when I boarded the boat. If you don't know, when you board a Disney Cruise Line boat, they kind of announce your name in the party, kind of like, welcome the Smith family on board, and then people are lined up as you walk in, clap. It's kind of cool. You want to get the shot, at least your name coming across. So I had the Action 2 on here, and I was filming with the Pocket 2 as I walked by. And this was getting bounced around a little bit, so it's kind of shaking, and now we're going indoors a little bit too, so we're getting the lights doing something funky. But this was nice, perfectly smooth, and no artificial stuff in the background. Also, I brought the Creator Combo. Should you buy the Creator Combo, or should you just get the regular? If you don't plan to like get great audio from it, all you want is to get your clips of footage as you walk around. If you don't plan on using it with the wireless part for your phone to kind of move the camera around, then just get the regular without the combo package. If you can find one on sale with the Creator Kit and everything are used, then go for that. It's always nice to have, because it does give good audio when you have the wireless one more. I'm using the Wireless Go for the A74 right now, but this works out really well, and it's not that expensive when you put it all together. So this is a camera that I always thought I was going to sell because I have too many cameras, but it serves a good purpose, and so far I'm probably not going to sell this one and keep it for that particular reason. All right, that's 3. What else we got? Oh, the camera that I was most excited to take with me, the Sony RX0. I right now have it on a gimbal, which is the Falcon, but it's not just the Falcon, it's the Falcon Plus. And this is a whole nother review later on. Totally different than, because I didn't have this for the cruise, I had the old Falcon. And I did a comparison. Now the footage you're about to see in a little bit of the GoPro, the Action 2, and the Pocket 2, all 4 cameras walking around the boat at daytime, and a little bit of walking inside. I used the original Falcon with this guy, not the Falcon Plus. And we'll talk about that in a separate video. Just a little spoiler, this one can balance better than the Falcon. But let's talk about the RX0 Mark II. So, very fun camera to use for me. How I thought I could use this, and I keep forgetting to remind myself, is don't walk around with this camera in your hand and expect the internal to do some type of stabilization, or I didn't really use the gimbal much, right? If I'm gonna bring all this and walk around and get a shot, then I'm probably gonna grab something bigger, maybe the A7R, because if I'm gonna do all this, I might as well just bring the big camera with me and walk around and get a good full frame image, right? So if I want something fast and whatever, I would take this off and use it the way. Let me just do this, I get rid of this gimbal so we don't talk about the gimbal anymore. All right, so how I use this a lot was setting it up and doing quick narratives of, hey, today's day 3 of the cruise and blah, 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 whatever I wanted to say. But I need to remind myself to either mount this or stay completely still as you talk about this. And then remember to select your focus with this camera, near or far, and make sure you got what you expect to get. Where this camera did shine is, again, photos, especially around the pool, any type of wet environment. It's very inconspicuous, good quality photos. And I'll show you some of those photos I got as I walked either around the boat, of the boat, in the water, all that kind of stuff. As I was snorkeling, I used this. Snorkeling, I went maybe the most 10 or 12 feet under the water with this one. I didn't want to push it too much, especially all you have is this cover here controlling or stopping the water getting in from the backside. But I got good photos underwater with this camera. I was happy with it. Of course, when it gets a little bit darker, that's where it fails. It's only an f4, so you can't expect, you need that light to make it look better, and it gets really grainy really fast if you don't have good light with this camera. Took pictures of some of the food we were eating, a little fancy dinner. Again, it was low light, so I didn't get as well shot as I thought I was going to get. I thought the 1-inch sensor would kind of do more than what I thought it would do. So I enjoyed using the camera, but the footage I got afterwards was a little bit disappointing here and there. With the 4K, now maybe I should probably switch to 1080, but that's not the point. I can't think of the name when it all warps around. Anyway, when you pan left or right too fast, it kind of gives you that little wompy effect, which was kind of disappointing to say the least. I still love the camera. Oh, let me talk again about the underwater part. So I did notice I was getting some condensation underneath the lens when I went a little bit too long in the water. So I don't know if this previous owner had taken this thing off before and put it back on. It doesn't look like it because there's no scratches on the screws itself. But I was getting a little bit of condensation underneath the thing. So I came up in the sunshine. We got back on the boat and I let it dry off. And it seems to be fine now. I was getting a little bit of salt in the cracks here that I cleaned out. So you have to watch that because salt can kill about anything. So make sure we wash and clean it off. I do scratch a little bit on the back screen, just a little small faint scratches. So be mindful of that. Try to keep more of a rag of some sorts like this. You can put it back in to kind of protect it. But this is one camera I'm not going to get rid of. I will always keep this camera probably until it doesn't work anymore. It's just, I think, a very niche camera to have to get a certain look in a shot. So I can film an S-Log2, that kind of stuff, and get very cinematic footage and kind of mirror it up with the bigger Sony cameras. That's what it's really good for. But again, images and talking narratives. So remember to put this thing on a tripod of some sorts and make sure it's still. Make sure you got the right focus, and it will look a lot better than an action camera, GoPro or whatever. The face will look a lot cleaner. You get a little bit of blur in the background like a big camera with good lighting. So it does have its purpose, and I do recommend and love this camera. All right, and then I took the big boy with it. So the A74 worked out great. I took it to dinner. I have a 20mm 1.8 that I used majority of the time because it's nice, a wide angle shot. You can get that closer look if you want to come in. So especially when you're on vacation, you kind of want to grab what's around you because that's the whole reason why you're there, because you're there for the adventure and you want to grab what's showing you what's around. So the A74 was used at dinner for photographs, that kind of stuff. A little bit of video here and there when I could. Very happy with the big Sony camera. So would I do anything different if I would go back and do it again? The only camera that I could probably, like if I had to give one up, it would probably be the GoPro. I can let the Action 2 fill that role and for all the water stuff. So this guy could fill that purpose. Now, if you're doing, again, like jet ski stuff or stuff that's more dynamic around the water, then obviously, yeah, you need something like this with a better mount so it's firm. I wouldn't trust this magnetically put on a mount with a jet ski or something like that. No. But that's it. We plan to go back in August for another one, just the way it worked out because of COVID and how one was backed up. So we will try this again and we'll see what cameras GoPro comes out with until then. Are they going to come out with 11 before August? I don't think so. Is that September? Probably so. All right, that is it. All right, let's look at the footage. Tell me what you think, and we'll get our final thoughts.
Contact with friends and loved ones. I am contacting them now. No. Your friends have been contacted. Unbelievable.
Now what are you doing?
Other treatments include compassion and physical reassurance. Hey, Barry, you will be all right. doing? Other treatments include compassion and physical reassurance. Hey, really, you will be all right.
Final thoughts right now as I've used the cameras versus looking at the footage, because the footage may tell a different story, but that is to be determined. So again, like I said before, the RX0, what I'm using right now, is a fun camera to use. So where it came to play for me was a lot of photography spots. So in the pool, something like this, running and getting pictures of Magic Kingdom, stuff like that. You want to stop and get pictures of certain things. It's a little bit bigger to run with, it's a little heavier, of course, than the DJI Action 2. That's a little small, obvious cube that's very easily fits in all your pockets and all that kind of stuff. But the RX0 can make it work, except there's no good stabilization. So you're not going to get running where you run, film some of your footage as you run down the path. Don't try that. So if you're just looking to get better pictures as you run, then yeah, RX0. But it's going to be a different looking pictures, right? So it's more the standard 24mm shot. With the Action 2, you're going to get more of that wide angle GoPro style look. A lot of contrast, a lot of colors. Still looks good, but depends on what you are looking for to get. The Action 2 allowed me to have it mounted on my chest, be able to not worry about it, almost like a pocket itself. Leave it there, take it off, do a video, take a picture, put it back. Record a video on my chest as I'm walking into a restaurant, something like that, to get a different style of look. Except anywhere it gets, anywhere the light gets lower, you get that jitters on the side of the camera trying to adjust to get the stabilization correct. So it needs that good bright sunshine to really make that work. Thanks for watching Scott's Reviews. Like, subscribe, please, down below. It takes a half second to do that. And we'll be talking about the Falcon Plus shortly, mostly with the RX0 Mark II and how it works out better than the original Falcon. That's going to be a fun one. I was excited when that came in the mail. I was hoping it was coming in for the mail for the cruise, but it didn't. But it will be taken on the next cruise. So, see ya!